Welcome to Global Connections on ThinkTech Hawaii. I'm your host, Jay Fidell. Today we'll talk about the domes of defense in a world of missiles and drones. How important, how expensive, and how effective will they be? Are they now? Our guest for the show is Dr. Rupmati Kandekar, geopolitical analyst. Welcome to the show, Rupmati.
Hello, Ajay. Thank you for having me on your show. Always a great pleasure for me.
Dome defense systems seem more important in a world bristling with new and more powerful weapons, largely aerial weapons. And it is important that we examine the technology and development of these systems and who's doing it and whether and to what extent they will be deployed and how they will make the world safer or not. So, Rupmati, we do have Iron Dome in Israel. And in an air war of missiles and other aerial weapons, we really, have to be interested in Iron Dome. So what's the history? When did this come about? How did the Israelis develop it?
Yeah, Jay. So, what's been in the news, and when you say air defense, it equates to the Iron Dome system. So, it is a short-range mobile air defense system developed by Israel by Rafael Defense Systems and the Israel aerospace industry with support from Raytheon. So, it was first developed in around 2011, Jay, and it constitutes the innermost layer of Israel's tiered defense system. So, you have the David Sling, which is for the mid and long range missiles. You have the Arrow 2 and 3, which is exclusive for the long range missiles, and the Iron Dome is the innermost layer, which is for the short range missiles. So, Jay, let me give you this history. In the 2006 Lebanon war, uh, Hezbollah militants had fired around 100 rockets at Israel and the occupied Golan Heights. So, in Feb 2007, the Israel Defense Minister, Amir Peretz, authorized Rafael to develop something of a short-range air missile defense systems on a budget of just $100 million, Jay. And so in March 2009, there was the first successful field test of the Iron Dome. And from proposal to deployment, it took around 4 years to make. So, Jay, if you could explain how the Iron Dome works, we'll move on to the next system that there is.
Okay, well, here's the way it works. If you have a radar system which scans the sky in real time, detecting incoming projectiles like rockets, artillery shells, mortars, even fighter jets. And this system immediately determines the trajectory of the threat. And it analyzes it. It calculates whether the projectile is likely to land in a populated area or will it affect critical infrastructure, military infrastructure, or will it land in the desert? If the threat is identified, the system determines the optimal response and determines which interceptor missiles to launch. If the system determines that it's a threat to a defended area, especially a populated area, it launches a Tamir interceptor missile. That's TAMIR from a launcher, and the launchers are mobile. The Tamir missile has electro-optical sensors and steering fins, and it gets guidance from the control center as it approaches the target area. The interceptor does not need to hit the incoming rocket or projectile directly. It rather explodes nearby, damaging the projectile. The goal is to intercept the projectile far away from populated areas, that is, as soon as possible, to minimize potential damage on the ground. So it uses artificial intelligence to distinguish between threats that will land in populated areas and those that will fall into open fields or the desert. Only by intercepting threats headed for defended areas, the system conserves interceptor missiles and lowers operational costs. So it's designed to intercept projectiles with a range of up to 70 kilometers, and that's 43 miles in miles. The Tamir, likewise, has a maximum range of 70 kilometers. So it's a protective shield. Then it detects and analyzes and intercepts short-range rockets and other projectiles that are a threat to civilian populations and critical infrastructure, while allowing non-threatening projectiles to land in uninhabited areas. It's really smart. But even with that, there are issues. The range is limited to 70 kilometers. You have to be close enough to actually see it on the radar and find it and intercept it. And then, of course, you have to spend the money necessary for the interceptor missile. So it could be, and I pose this question to you, it could be that Iron Dome is really dedicated for an area, a smaller area like Israel, not a larger area. So it's very questionable as to whether Donald Trump could ever establish an Iron Dome type system in the US, which is roughly 3,000 miles wide.
Yeah, Jay. And another thing about the Iron Dome, that a naval version of the Iron Dome, known as the Sea Dome, was purchased. Two of them were purchased by the US, and they were leased back to Israel after the terrorist attack of October 7th. So, Jay, now what we talk about, how Trump has been inspired by the Iron Dome and decides to build a Golden Dome. 7 days into his administration, he decides that he wants a system that would deter and defend against aerial attacks, next generation technologies across land, sea, and space, including space based sensors and interceptors. So he wants the system of capable of intercepting missiles from the other side of the world or even from space. And initial investment that he's earmarked for this is $25 million, Jay. Approximately saying that it would cost around 175 billion, but the Congressional Budget Office estimates that it would go over 542 billion over the next 20 years. So we don't know, like, if the Iron Dome over a small geographical place would take 4 years to develop. Just imagine this spanning the geographical area of America.
So some thoughts about that up to that point. One of the problems in Israel, in fact, the primary problem as it has worked out, is that if you swarm projectiles at a given target, like Tel Aviv, the artificial intelligence, at least the current artificial intelligence in Iron Dome, gets confused. And so the artificial intelligence, if he got the artificial intelligence from Israel, is really not adequate for an updated, more modern artificial intelligence approach to dealing with an Iron Dome system. So there has to be changes. The other thing is the numbers you just gave sounds to me, are very low ball. It's going to cost a fortune to cover the United States, a fortune. And you have to have all these missile launchers, all these missiles at the ready. You have to have these radars everywhere. And it's a new radar. It's not like radar is generic. They have to build new ones, and it has to be dedicated, and it has to be secure. It can't be subject to cyber terrorism or anything like that. And so finally, will he be able to do this? It will cost him so much money. And I can't stop but thinking, he's asking for somewhere between $3 and $4 trillion. And I think he's using this American Dome, idea, this project that he, announced as a way to justify increases in military spending. It's got to be about that. It's got to be about defending the United States using an advanced copy of the Israeli Iron Dome. Your thoughts?
Yeah, Jay. See, what happened is the S-400 system of Russia is technically and arguably the most effective air defense system in the world today. So it's a long range, multi layered, mobile air defense system. It's capable of intercepting, destroying ballistic missiles and advanced aircraft, and it can be deployed in 5 minutes. So, Jay, but this is being deployed in the Ukraine Russia war, and it has got uh, mm, uh, effectiveness of around 70%. So we come down to the current affairs of the India Pakistan thrashing that happened a few weeks back. And so the dome system that came out in it, what would we name it, Jay?
Well, let's call it the curry dome. Okay, that would be appropriate for India. And I personally like curry food.
That's right, Jay. So the S-400 was purchased by India for around $5.4 billion against even being threatened by sanctions to buy it. India went ahead with it. And so the S-400 and Akash Tir, which integrates the ground-based airborne and space technologies to provide a comprehensive air defense system. The Raksha Kavach, which is developed by the DRDO, Defense and Research Organization of India. It offers protection against ballistic missiles and drones. And the Prithvi Air Defense, that is the PAD, it intercepts ballistic missiles at high altitudes. So this curry, the curry is prepared by mixing all these spices, Jay. These three missile systems and the S-400 gave India 100% defense strike rate, Jay. Pakistan fired 600 drones, several aircraft. Nothing could penetrate the vast Indian boundary. And this was the first time that you saw such a large attack being thwarted over such a large geographical area. Now, this has inspired Trump saying to go beyond the limit of geographical.
The whole thing about the Iron Dome has been sort of in the public conversation for a while. The Israeli version, everybody says, oh, they're so clever, that they can have such a high rate of interception and stop these terror missiles coming at them. And they have. It's been quite successful. At least it was before the terrorists found out that if they swarmed a lot of missiles on Israel, that Iron Dome, at least the existing AI, would not be able to handle it. And so everybody in the world knew about the Iron Dome. So you say, well, the Russians now have the S-400 system. They only developed it after they saw what was happening in Israel. And the Indian Curry Dome system, they only got involved after they saw what was happening in Israel and had an opportunity to get the technology from Russia. So this all follows the original Iron Dome, but I suggest to you that all the people that have copied the Israeli Iron Dome have improved it. And so I would venture to guess that the newer systems in Russia and in India have solved the problem of the swarm. They have probably increased the range of the radar and the range of the interceptor missile, both. And so we have a kind of a competition going on. It's a defense war. It's a dome war. You heard that here on ThinkTech. It's a dome war. And so it's not just Russia and India, is it? It's other countries too, right?
Yes, Jay, it's absolutely all of them coming together. Israel collaborates with India on this missile of having the Barak 8. So you have this mutual cooperation in this dome system. And Jay, the integration of this technology has made the harder your shield is, the more attacks that you thwart. And when they see that this was the problem of swarming the missiles, you remember Donald Trump also has there's a laser X which is developing a system where they target the swarm of drones that happen. So each problem is being tackled step by step, because for a fact these defense systems are extremely expensive. Each S-400 costs around $5 billion. So that would take a lot of black budget to get into your defense system. But if you get it, I mean, nothing like it today at this moment, Jay.
Well, this sort of changes the whole paradigm about war these days. I mean, if you take it from the political position of the United States, we don't want to be involved overseas. We certainly don't want to send, even Biden always said we don't want to send troops. And we get burned in Afghanistan. We don't want to send boots on the ground. Okay. So we have no appetite for boots on the ground. On the other hand, the drones and the missiles are getting smarter with AI and faster with these supersonic missiles, ultrasonic missiles, whatever they have now. and actually cheaper, although they're not really all that cheap. And this changes the paradigm at sea in the sense that you could knock out an aircraft carrier with one big missile.
Yes.
That doesn't cost nearly as much as the carrier. The carrier could cost $1 trillion by itself. Now you could destroy it and all those other ships. So the notion of having a big, powerful navy is not as relevant as it was before. In any event, so you have sophisticated aerial bombardment technology growing as we speak, Marty, every day. And these countries, especially the rogue countries, are they're collaborating on this. And so the technology is all the more frightening, where they hit civilian populations and critical infrastructure, military infrastructure. That's what they're doing. That's the way war is being fought now with these aerial missiles and rockets and drones. So you have to have a defense system. And so now people, that is people in the military industry, have started putting money and time and expertise into these defense systems, the dome systems. And I think that's what we're observing here. And I think Trump is, I don't like to admit that he's right about anything, but I think he's right that we have to have some kind of sophisticated defense system. The question is whether the defense system that he has in mind is useful at all. Because A, it's a big country, it's 3,000 miles. Do you really need Iron Dome all through the country? I mean, the coasts are where the risk is. The vulnerability is at the coasts. So maybe it wouldn't have to cover the whole country. And secondly, it would have to be very smart to identify a threat near a big city with 10 or 15 million people. So query, can he do that? And thirdly, as I mentioned before, and as you mentioned also, the cost is prohibitive. You have to make the radar, you have to design and build the radar in appropriate deployments. You have to design and build the interceptor launch trucks or facilities, a lot of them. And you have to make missiles that will have sufficient range to intercept the incoming threat. This is going to be a huge project. And even if you do it modestly, just on the West Coast and the East Coast or wherever near those coasts, it's going to cost a fortune. And I believe that's why he's seeking so much money for the military. But you can see, everybody, that this changes the nature of war. As drones have changed the offensive side of war, these Iron Dome systems have changed the defensive side of war. That's what we have now, and I think it's going to emerge as a war of technology, of AI.
Jay, defense is the best form of offense right now. We finished, fifth generation fighter jets, so now something to defend yourself from. So when he puts this, when he conceptualizes this system, the logistics that we talk about are going to be difficult to put together. But in the long range, long term, it would be necessary to have this because, see, Russia is developing it. Russia has this S-400, which is showing its capability. China has this HQ-9, which is a imitation of the S-300, earlier version of S-400. So these countries, which are the immediate threat to the US supremacy in global politics, have the defense systems integrated, and also they are robust in what do you say, developing the defense technology. We have fallen short in America a little bit in just developing the offense side of it, because protected by water on all the sides, you don't really think, because of the proximity to your enemies, is safe. There is space to react. So this would be a side project. It would be very nice, taking a little longer time, but it is necessary. Like you said, hard to admit, but we have to say that it's necessary. And till now, we just had the THAAD, that is the Terminal High Altitude Area Defense System, which intercepts ballistic missiles up to 200 kilometers range and 150 kilometers altitude. The S-400 goes 300 kilometers range. So see the difference that we have it. Now, Patriot system is being used by Ukraine. Also, it protects against aircraft cruise missiles, tactical ballistic missiles, and the range is 160 to 170 kilometers and 24 kilometers altitude. So see the difference between the S-400 and this. So something has to develop which will tackle this. And to tell you the truth, Jay, the US has spent a huge chunk of defense on the EU, providing a security umbrella to the EU, which could have been used to fortify the American systems further. Now, there is this MEADS that the US, Germany, and Italy have combinedly produced. It's a 360-degree protection. It's mobile, deployable platform, 40 to 70 kilometers, 20 kilometers altitude. So you've developed it for two other countries in Europe. It could have been used in few of the states in the US. So, and the Aster 30 of France, J, is a surface-to-air missile system, the SAM. It's mobile also. And Jay, what happens is that when you diversify your expenditure for defense, you don't spend enough within the nation. So this development of a defense system is inevitable because everybody's going in that direction, Jay.
Yeah, but I do have some reactions to what you're saying. First of all, we have what amounts to a real commotion, I'll call it that, in Los Angeles. And on the one hand, you have people who are completely alienated from the government, completely. And they are not interested in supporting Trump or the government ever, or voting for him or his friends. And so you have these divides, the divisiveness that Trump has created, and that's a factor here. And I think that's kind of catching to the military. Can you imagine being one of those guys in the National Guard or now the Marines in Los Angeles? You say, what do they got me doing here? I'm fighting Americans. These are American people. Why in the world should I be standing here with my M14 or whatever they have, ready to shoot people? Why? And so there's a morale issue, okay? And if you want the military to support you, of course, he's trying to get them to support him in every which way. You really wonder about the troopers on the ground, what their morale is like after this whole affair in Los Angeles. And there'll be other cities where it'll play out in similar fashion. The country is very, very divided. And if you ask me what the priorities are, I would say the first priority is bring the country together. A country that's divided is not effective in defending itself or in prosecuting a war or aggressive international action. That's one thing. But the other thing is that Trump has burned bridges all over town. He has burned bridges with our allies. He has burned bridges on rare earth materials, on technology, on chips, who knows what, with his crazy tariff program. And so if he thinks he can build cars or missiles, large numbers of missiles, or rocket launchers or all that, or even the technology for the analysis of the incoming threat, he's going to have to get technology and parts from overseas. Now, there's a lot of places that don't want to sell it to him. There's a lot of allies that are former allies, and so this is a serious problem. And I suggest to you that he is going to have a problem in terms of a project of this scope and expense. And it may take him a lot longer than he thinks or we think to actually do it. And I think it's another one of those things where you hear him pound his chest and say, this is the big project I'm going to do. Then it disappears into the dustbin. Just like I think Greenland has disappeared, Canada has disappeared, Mexico has disappeared, Panama Canal has disappeared, all these things, all these big talk Trump things have disappeared. And I suggest to you that the American dome will also disappear. He's not going to get the cooperation, not going to get the parts. He's not going to be able to solve the problems. And I I don't care how much money he gets from Congress and throws at the project. It's not going to work.
Yeah, Jay, he is not. He has promised the Golden Dome free to Canada if they become the 51st state. So we have CEO Trump of his company America, which is doing all sorts of things which are not in tandem with global politics, which are his in his own little kingdom. But this immigration thing, Jay, it's something to be scared of because when you see society being in such a condition in America, it becomes a shout out to the world where there are, like, suppose we always discuss this, that Europe is filled with migrants, illegal migrants, and those illegal migrants are the problem. And how to remove them, if Trump showed us the violent way, is not going to work and it's going to lead to riots like this. How are you going to remove the illegal migrants? They have to go through legal processes. But how is the question now, Jay? We are in such a catch 22 situation because of this aggressiveness of policies. And it was a door to door search that happened. And that was not taken well by most, because when you have an illegal migrant, you have his friends, his accomplices, his family, which are protecting him. So one illegal migrant comes with a force of 4 or 5 people to support him. So we are going to have a very difficult time in distinguishing what is right and what is wrong, Jay. And like you said, the media is having a field day with this, because which side to take, which flags are flying, which people are flashing their ideologies. Everything is a mess. You don't know which side to take. What is right, what is wrong, is become a big blur, because some things that Trump does, you can't call it right, because immediately he comes up with something which will balance out the goodness of it or the madness of it. So we exactly don't know how to like, till now we discuss why Golden Dome would be beneficial to the US, but to have a Golden Dome over America requires a lot of channelizing of your energies. You can't do it with something like this, the LA riots going on. You can't put it into implementation. Like you said, projects of his or words that he says fade away without any responsibility. He doesn't take it. He says it and he says, "Oh, did I say that?"
Exactly, and think about his promises to improve the economy. He's destroyed a good part of the economy already. We're going to see that happen in the food stores with the eggs and the groceries. But more than that, he's told us that he's going to solve. He told us early on, as a campaign promise, that he was going to immediately solve the war in Ukraine. He hasn't solved anything. In fact, he's taken the wrong side and said the most ridiculous things. Likewise, he hasn't improved the situation in the Middle East. I suggest to you he's not going to be able to cut a deal with Iran. Israel's going to do what it wants, not what he wants. He's going to wind up in some argument with Netanyahu, and he hasn't done anything to bring that war to even a ceasefire. So he doesn't follow through with these things. And so what happens is he needs, like any good autocrat, he needs distractions. This thing in LA, this thing about the immigrants and the migrants and the deportations, it's a distraction. And he is distracting us like crazy from the real issues, which he has not solved. So I don't think he was ever really serious about the American Dome, the Golden Dome, whatever he called it. And I certainly don't think he's serious about it now. It's off the shelf. Like so many other things, he recognizes he won't be able to do it. He recognizes that to keep control and advance his power as an autocrat, he's got to create divisiveness, and he's got to distract the media and thus the public from the real issues. So although we agree, Rupati, that it would be a good idea, I don't think it's going to happen. But there is a technology that we should discuss, and that's the iron beam. And
Yeah.
this is another Israeli technology. Can you talk about it? It's the laser beam. It's out of Star Wars. It's out of it's out of fictions. It's something we've imagined for years, and now it's not far from being available. Can you talk about it?
Yeah, JC, Israel is a beneficial, mutual, natural ally of the US. And the reasons for this is like we discussed before. US has been able to purchase 2 sea domes from Israel. And now the Iron Beam that is coming up, Jay, it's a technological advancement which will engage at the speed of light, Jay, up to a range of several hundred kilometers, unlimited magazines, almost zero cost per interception. The Tamir missile costs around $40,000. This one would be zero cost per um, interception and a minimum collateral damage. So, what more do you want? It is right out of the textbook and clean green defense system, Jay.
A defense system that's green. Maybe we call it the green dome. Anyway, you know what strikes me from your description of this, the laser, and we've seen some, you know, some indication of the development of the laser in the media. If Israel can perfect this, and if the U.S. can get a perfected model of it and build it, it kind of makes all of this Iron Dome and American Golden Dome, and even the Curry Dome irrelevant.
Yes, yes.
Why? Because it's cheaper, it's faster. It's although I'm sure it costs plenty to develop on the ground. On the ground, it may be the most efficient possible way to intercept threatening missiles and rockets and drones and anything, including fighter jets. It also will change the nature of war. So there's an interesting problem here because he's got to deal with the timeline. It's going to take a long time to develop his fancy idea about the Golden Dome. And I don't think he'll be able to do it anyway. I don't think he has the political will to do it. But this will eclipse that. This will make all of these domes irrelevant. If the iron beam can prevail, that also changes the nature of war, doesn't it?
Yeah, Jay, because what is happening? See, we have fallen short from Russia. Russia's 400 kilometers, 300 kilometers interception. It is this Patriot third is just 150, 160. But now, when you talk of the beams, Jay, you have a lot of space help which comes in the space satellites that give support to this kind of surveillance attack and intercepting system. So, Jay, when you're talking of the countries that are developing this and collaborating on this, all of them are space powers also. So defense has gone one notch above, not just the SAM, that is the surface to air missiles, it also is including your space technology. And so the nations which have the space capability are the ones which are becoming pioneers in this kind of revolutionary defense development, Jay. And the US has to collaborate and have mutual understanding because never leave an ally like Israel, because there is a lot of mutual benefit. It is not just about protecting Israel, it is about mutual benefit that happens when you do, because that's a very good thing that India has experienced it. India never recognized before the Modi government, they never recognized Israel up to Modi was the first prime minister who went to Israel, and see what has happened. Barak 8 is the defense system that India and Israel are collaborating on. The Pakistan war happened, Israel was one of the first countries to come in. The terrorist attack happened on Israel, India was the first country to send help to Israel. So, this kind of mutual friendship you have to cherish, you have to preserve, and you have to work towards it. With Trump's kind of talk, you kind of isolate and you distance yourself. Words are very important when you want the other person to know that you care. And when he uses harsh words, it hurts. And that when that hurt, you isolate yourself or you go away from that person. You never want to meet that person again. Same thing is happening with the countries. Trump needs to understand the power of words, the power of diplomacy, the power of care for your mutual friends. That is very important.
He's not going to ever understand that. But your discussion of this makes me think of a couple of points. Number one is, Ukraine had this extraordinary success with these small missiles, which it implanted in the top of trucks, I guess, and deployed the trucks all around Russia. And these missiles were autonomous, and they were pointed at certain aircraft and military bases. And that was a fantastic success. And that was AI. And those missiles, I'm sure, were built with technology and also parts from Western Europe, if not, other places as well, maybe Asia. Not the U.S. I don't think the U.S. helped at all. And if I were Ukraine, I would not have collaborated with the U.S. on that, because it wouldn't have been a secret for very long. But
Mm.
but the point I make, though, is though we saw photographs. We saw photographs of those missiles lined up in the tops of these cars and trucks, and they were what, 3-4 feet long, maybe, and they were like 8 or 10 inches, maybe a foot in diameter,
Mm.
and they were pointed at certain pre-programmed targets,
Mm.
and they were aggressive weapons for sure. Okay, but why not take those same weapons, adjust the autonomy of it, adjust the AI, and make them dome weapons? So what I'm
Yes.
saying is there's a merger here between aggressive weapons and defensive weapons. The difference between those Ukrainian projectiles, drones, and weapons that could bring down the other guy's drones, it's not that great. It's just a matter of the software, I think, and maybe having a radar installation nearby to, give them guidance. Point is, though, that as we go down the track of this technology, we can see that aggressive and defensive, are coming together somehow, don't you think?
Yes, Jay, correct point, because that's what's happening, isn't it? First, it would just be radars, but would detect. But now you have to detect and intercept. That interception and destroying is what is important. The shoot and scoot capability that they have, that they fire the missiles, and then the mobile, it's mobile. They're mounted on trucks, so the trucks move. So because of the movement of the trucks, you can cover your geographical area. You don't need to have that kind of there's no, you're not foundationally stuck over at one place. You can have a movement, or which needs like, see, the sea dome, again, which was made by Israel. It was leased back to Israel because they were mounted on the water. So this kind of mobility that they have, you don't need to spend over uh, $500 billion on this kind of a defense system. You just sharpen your offense systems, like you said, and that's where we need to concentrate, Jay.
Yes, and it strikes me that I was talking before about having radar installations. You could miniaturize the radar installations and put them right next to those missiles on the tops of the trucks, and so every truck could have its own little radar. And those missiles can be fast, and they can be accurate, and they can serve as a kind of mini dome, lots of mini domes, and they can shoot. In this case, there were Russian aggressive missiles out of the sky very quickly and in all locations. Let me add one other thought and see what you think. In our hypothetical that the Israelis or possibly the Americans, or maybe somebody else, perfects the iron beam laser weapon.
Mm.
And what I was just talking about is these weapons are both aggressive and defensive. So where the laser beam weapon could shoot a missile, an incoming threat missile out of the sky, it could also fire into a ship on the ocean. It could fire into an installation. What did you say? 700 kilometers away. It could do all kinds of aggressive damage too. So the notion of merging aggressive and defensive into one weapon, or one combination of weapons that is similar except for the software, really would apply, don't you think, to this iron beam laser thing as well?
Yeah, Jay, it would, because see, now the laser beam that is going to be developed is going to have a tremendous strike capability. and with zero cost of your unlimited magazines and zero cost of your interception, you're going to be able to fire it without any restriction. So these points make the iron beam so tempting, Jay, for any country to have. And you see that this getting this technology of the offense and defense together in this iron beam thing is going to be a big task, because who uh, now Israel is in the process of developing this technology. Who would get this technology is a very big thing, because you see, Russia has developed the S-400, now developing the S-500. China is one of the biggest allies of Russia, but it has not offered it S-400. So it had given China S-300, and China created a cheap imitation version of the S-300, which is turned out to be a dud and does not work well. So you Russia has chosen not to give it to China and given it to India and collaborated with India on this. So, iron beam will go to whom? And the person or the country which gets this iron beam is going to rule the uh, dome system, because this is really something which is out of your Hollywood.
Well, let me go to a final thought here, and that is so we have seen the big fight between Trump and Musk, and we know that Musk has put a lot of money into AI. He's trying to build AI weapons, and I expect that he's probably successful in some ways. He's focused on it. On the other hand, there are people in the um, in the satellite community and the weapons community that say, excuse me, there are people in the satellite community and the weapons community, weapons development community that say Musk is just a lot of talk. And there are other quieter companies in America that are doing and can do a better job in developing AI and thus in developing AI for the Iron Beam, as well as for the American Golden Dome, if there is a Golden Dome. So what I'm wondering is the political end of that, because although Trump and Musk say that they're not going to be friends going forward, I wonder if Trump would reverse himself on the pitch that Elon Musk can help him develop AI technology that would contribute to the development of these weapons. Your thoughts?
Yeah, Jay, because he has the space link also to help him with this space support that you need for these defense domes that are so critical, Jay. Space surveillance, space support is critical to the dome system. And Elon Musk, with this Starlink thing, has got an kind of a monopoly as an individual amongst the skies. And to have him on your side would be just an asset over all this. And AIJ, like you said, like you explained the working of the Iron Dome, it is so much controlled by the artificial intelligence and it's like you said, no men on the ground, prevention of loss of your soldiers' lives, where you use AI and you put this technology in front of human lives. So this is vital for any defense system to develop, Jay.
Okay, well, you studied this and you're very familiar with it, both on a technical level and on a geopolitical level. What are your closing comments? What would you advise the policymakers in this country to do?
Yeah, Jay, it would be to catch up on the defense side of things, because lagging behind, and there was a lot of diversion. I repeat, because there was a lot of diversion of security aspect and security resources, security budget towards providing a umbrella for Europe, when in fact they're very capable of defending themselves, forming an alliance without the US. The US has to be a little bit selfish in developing your own strength before trying to help others, because at the time of war, Jay, any technology would fall short. The more powerful you are, it's never going to hurt to become more powerful. So you have to go for more, what do you say, empowerment towards self-empowerment is the key to defense success.
Yes, and in terms of priorities, it's
Yeah.
really more important to bring the country together
Mm,
and to have morale within the military, um, uh, uh, clear and clean and patriotic, and not undermined by stories of dictatorship. It is far better to have your allies in place and have your friends help you. And
mm,
shamefully, disgracefully, and tragically, we have avoided all of those things. So that has to be a factor in considering what our capabilities are and will be, and how we will keep up in the development of these weapons on the global scale. But let's leave it there, Rupmati. Thank you so much to our guest, Dr. Rupmati Kandekar, geopolitical analyst. I'm Jay Fidell, host of Global Connections, and we've been engaging on the domes of defense in a world of missiles and drones. Thank you to our viewers for watching. We'll see you again soon for the next one. Aloha. Aloha, Rupmati.
Hello, Ajay. Thank you so much.